In a statement, the FDA said the vaccine, now marketed as Comirnaty, is fully authorized for individuals 16 years and older, while it continues to be administered for individuals 12 through 15 years of age under Emergency Use Authorization, or EUA, which also covers the authorization of a third dose for certain immunocompromised individuals. Acting FDA Administrator Janet Woodcock called the move a milestone in the continued battle against the pandemic. In a statement, she said that while this and other vaccines had met the FDA's rigorous scientific standards for EUA, the public can be very confident that the Pfizer vaccine meets the high standards for safety, effectiveness, and manufacturing quality required for approval from the FDA. Officials acknowledging that the move may now instill additional confidence in getting vaccinated.
A certain percentage have said, when the vaccines get the full approval of the FDA, I would feel more comfortable in doing that. And what also will happen is that once you get full approval, local authorities will feel more comfortable in doing local mandates for vaccine. I don't see there being central mandate for the country of a vaccine. I don't see that at all happening. But I think what you'll be seeing is universities and colleges and some large employees or even small employees will say, if you want to work in this enterprise or in this institution, you'll have to show proof of vaccination.
The FDA says its experts conducted an incredibly thorough and thoughtful evaluation of the vaccine, including a detailed assessment of the manufacturing process. But skeptics remain, with almost 40% of the population yet to receive at least one dose. Just watch the former president get booed recently by his own supporters at the very suggestion.
I recommend take the vaccines. I did it. It's good. Take the vaccines. But no, that's okay. That's all right. You got your freedoms. But I happen to take the vaccine. If it doesn't work, you'll be the first to know, okay? I'll call up Alabama and say, hey, you know what? But it is working. But you do have your freedoms. You have to maintain that.
The news coming just days after the government indicated plans to make COVID-19 booster shots available starting in late September.
The threat of the Delta virus remains real. But we are prepared. We have the tools. We can do this. So all those of you who are unvaccinated, please get vaccinated for yourself and for your loved ones, your neighborhood and for your community. And to the rest of America, this is no time to let our guard down. We just need to finish the job with science, with facts, and with confidence.
Over 200 million people in the United States have now received at least one dose of a vaccine, but only 51% of the population is double vaccinated, with a rollout of a third booster shot expected to start in late September, pending FDA approval. Moderna, the second mRNA vaccine to receive emergency use authorization back in December, has also applied for full authorization, while the third EUA vaccine, Johnson & Johnson, has yet to begin that process. Sherwin Bryce-Pease, SABC News, New York.
So let's continue the conversation now with Sherwin Bryce-Pease. Sherwin, so this is a culmination of more than 3 months in the making since Pfizer applied for this, a full approval through what you say is biologics license. Why is the FDA calling this a pivotal moment in the fight against the pandemic in the United States?
Because so many people are still on the sidelines of the vaccination process, I think is one reason, Tsepi. So the other reason, of course, is it removes one of the barriers that people that find themselves on the periphery, perhaps the anti-vax groups, have used to neglect or to refuse, to argue for refusing the vaccination process, essentially arguing that it had only received emergency use authorization and that they were going to wait for full approval. But I feel also that people are so entrenched in their views on either side of the vaccination process that it's questionable as to the extent to which this is going to really have a big impact. But let's listen to Dr. Janet Woodcock. She's the acting FDA administrator on why this was such a pivotal moment. Watch.
This is a pivotal moment for our country in the fight against the pandemic. While this and other vaccines have met the FDA's rigorous scientific standards for emergency use authorization, as the first FDA-approved COVID-19 vaccine, the public can be confident that this vaccine meets the FDA's gold standards for safety, effectiveness, and manufacturing quality that we require for an approved product.
So, Dr. Woodcock also going on to say that FDA staff have worked around the clock to be able to complete the evaluation of the biologic license application over these last 3 months. This is an unprecedented timeline given the volume of review and the meticulous manner in which this has been done. Of course, the big concern is now, will those people that find themselves on the periphery of this process, particularly in southern states where we are seeing a surge in hospitalizations, in ICU capacity, in places like Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, Texas, the big concern, will people there where we are seeing low penetration rates in terms of vaccinations, will this now change their calculus in terms of going for these shots? That remains to be seen.
Sherwin, I'm sure a lot of people interested in what those rigors are, especially in the application of the full licensing process. You've just attended a media call with the FDA officials. What did you learn?
Right, so remember there was an independent process, over 20 independent epidemiologists, virologists that advised the FDA back in the day, late last year, in terms of granting emergency use authorization. They have now taken this a further step. The company, the pharmaceutical companies, Pfizer and BioNTech had to submit, as part of this biologic license application, reams and reams of data that then had to be analyzed by independent staff working for the Food and Drug Administration. But it was a question put to Dr. Peter Marks, the FDA's director at the Center for Biologics Evaluation and Research. He explained what this process entailed. Watch.
We are highly rigorous in what we do, and we don't just look at what the summaries of data are. We go down to the level of the individual patients. What took time is that we actually go and we monitor a percentage of the sites where the clinical trials were conducted in order to make sure that the data that was collected accuracy and matches what was submitted to the agency. We go and we inspect the facilities that are making the product and making sure that they meet our high-quality standards. And doing those inspections in the middle of a pandemic were not trivial. That had to be done. And then we went through tens of thousands of patients of data to make sure we looked at adverse events, efficacy data, did our own analyses in addition to the company's analyses.
So really what we're hearing, Tepiso, is a process to build confidence in the vaccination process in the United States. Of course, people had a lot of questions after emergency use authorization was granted to Pfizer in early December. This now another layer, another step, and hopefully pulling down the barriers that people have seen or put in front of themselves in terms of getting vaccinated. But what you hear there from Dr. Marks is a very rigorous process has been undertaken here.
So this FDA announcement, we've seen it since then. There are a number of entities that are indicating vaccine mandates for their employees. It's the same conversation taking place here in South Africa. What are you expecting? Are more to follow? What is the latest on this?
Yeah, the President's Chief Medical Advisor, Dr. Anthony Fauci, in our preview piece to this conversation, Sepiso, talking about how this will probably mean more companies will mandate vaccination for returning staff to their physical workplaces. We already saw since the announcement just hours in today, New York City announcing that all staff members in the Department of Education, be that principals, teachers, staff that work on site at various facilities, they will have to be mandated and will no longer have the option of presenting a weekly COVID test. So COVID tests are going to become a thing of the past in terms of these mandates, and vaccinations are going to be the only pathway to employees being able probably to retain their jobs and certainly being able to return to the office. The Pentagon, the Defense Department, announcing that they too, following this FDA approval, will be mandating all members of the military to get vaccinated. They will not have an option to just get tested. And also United Airlines, one of the only American airlines to fly directly to South Africa, they announced recently that their staff will have to return to work within 5 weeks of the approval announcement, which is today. They will have to return to work vaccinated. So expect more of this in the days and weeks ahead.
Very interesting. Thank you very much, Sherwin Bryce-Pease, colleague out there at the United Nations in New York, giving us an update on that, the FDA approval of the Pfizer vaccine.